This is breaking news.
This still remains one of the worst collisions that I've ever seen on a New York City street. As the allegations have been read in the courtroom, the defendant has been indicted for manslaughter in the second degree and other related vehicular charges and assault charges. You know, the allegations remain the same. She's doing more than double the speed limit, well in advance of that, running red lights, and in the process of that reckless driving took the lives of 2 young children and their mother, critically injuring a little boy who's still fighting for his life, although he is making progress, and devastating an entire family. So we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that this reckless driver is held fully accountable under the law. This is the team that's the lead prosecutors on the investigation, and if there are any questions, we'll take some, but always with the respect to the rights of the accused.
What is her responsibility in this case? She underwent a psychiatric evaluation, right? But this is a car with 99 tickets, it seems. There's a history here. What is her responsibility under the law, and can it be shielded by a psychiatric condition?
Well, it's clear, one thing is very clear. This car had many, many violations, right? Speeding tickets, running red light tickets. The vehicle has been ticketed so many times. The driver, the allegation, you heard it in court, has a suspended license as well. What's very clear is that she should not have been on the road that day. Had she not been on the road driving that Audi on that day, this family would have survived this terrible incident. In terms of her psychiatric history of defense, we heard nothing from her lawyer today about that, so I'm not going to speculate about what those conditions are, if any.
You did hear from the lawyer, though, saying that it's nonviolent, she has no history, and that because of that, she deserves some kind of bail, which the judge at least said he'd consider. Your response to these claims that this is an exception in her case, at least according to her attorney. Yeah,
well, you heard the very significant charges filed. She faces many, many years in prison. The judge said he'll review the grand jury minutes to see if the allegations that counsel says are true, pan out. But the court at the arraignment thought remand was appropriate. This judge at this point saw no change in that circumstance, and that's what's happening. But this will be an ongoing litigation. We follow the law. We follow the evidence here. The evidence is pretty damning about how this driver has been alleged to operate that car. And what's clear is that an entire community has suffered a tremendous loss. And I've been in contact with the family. They're devastated. And so I thought it was important as a father, but also as district attorney, to be at this arraignment today.
DA Gonzalez, we noticed in the courtroom she kept turning back, staring at yourself and all the other media. Have you seen that before? Do you have a response to that?
She's coming and, she's in the courtroom, and I think she's trying to see if any of her loved ones or family are in court. I didn't take anything of offense to that.
Do you think the city and state give you the condition of the 4-year-old who was in critical condition? I know you said he's doing better. Can you just elaborate on his condition?
Yeah. Well, the last time that I was we're in Passover, and the family is a religious family. The last time I spoke to, the father, the son had been sort of in a medically induced coma. He's had his kidney removed, and there's been a lot. He has a lot of damage, and they're still looking to see whether or not they're going to be lifelong consequences from the injury, right? Because they still have to check out the. Well, I'm not going to speculate more, but as you can imagine, they want to make sure that everything else with him, not just physically, but mentally, is going to be appropriate.
This isn't the first time that the driver in a deadly crash has turned out to be a recidivist speeder. Do you think the city, the state, the mayor are doing enough to allow you to hold these types of drivers accountable?
Well, actually, this is a great question, because I think, you heard counsel talk about could there be any other elevated charges. I think the law is very restrictive in allowing district attorneys to pursue murder charges in these types of cases. And this is an area where I think the legislature should take a careful look to see whether or not the current standard of what it would take to do a depraved indifference charge on a vehicular case needs to be thought about, because the law has been very restrictive. Some call it the rule of two and others, but the high courts have struck down a lot of these cases. We're taking a close look at it in this case to see whether or not there's anything else we can bring, but we feel very comfortable that the charges that these men and the grand jury that sits right in this building brought were going to be sustained by the judge.
What about even before that? Is it frustrating to see a driver like this even on the road?
Yeah, we have a lot of bad driving. We have a lot of bad driving in our city. Aggressive driving, this violent car culture is a real problem. It's really, in my opinion, gone up since the pandemic. Over the last 5 years, I feel like the number of bad drivers on the road have continued to increase. There are a lot of solutions, right? We're talking about solutions inside the vehicle that prevent those cars from operating in reckless ways. We're talking about speed cameras. We're talking about taking them off the roads, going after ghost cars. There's so many different solutions, but one thing that we have to focus on today is there's a family in mourning, and all these other conversations our elected leaders should have in the city council and up in Albany.
Sir, what do you need? As of this morning, in your jurisdiction, there is a car that has 177 tickets as of the beginning of this year. You can't do anything about it. What is it that you need or that you want to be able, because there are red flags before this crash actually took place. What is it that your office needs, whether it be from Albany or City Hall?
Well, that's a different thing, right? I don't want to sort of conflate the roles of, my office. My office prosecutes cases that come to court. We do investigations. But I think it's a question appropriately given to the police department. At what point can they feel that they can seize a car simply based on the number of tickets and not just the number of fines? Currently, the law really deals with a scoff being an unpaid ticket. So after a certain value of tickets or a certain number of tickets, a vehicle could be taken off the road. But a driver who's reckless and continues to speed, who continues to run red lights, they can pay off those camera tickets. There are no points on their licenses, and technically their cars are not in scoff. And so, the police department feels like they have a hard time legally seizing those cars because there are no tickets owed. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. And thank you for paying attention to this case. It's an important case. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been breaking news.